The Bridge of Red Thread, The Broken Exchange, Suzhou, 1925. The ancient city of Suzhou was a maze of quiet waterways, arched stone bridges and willow trees that wept into the Grand Canal. It was a city where the water was the road, and the sound of silk being stretched on a frame was as common as the lapping of the sampans. Lian worked in a small, damp studio that smelled faintly of mulberry leaves and dye. She was a master embroiderer, her specialty being the almost mythical double-sided embroidery, where the pattern was identical on both faces, leaving no trace of a knot. It was a craft that demanded total control, unbending focus, and a heart that was content with silence. Lian, however, was restless. Her life, like the delicate silk canvases she worked on, felt perfectly patterned but utterly empty. Her routine was broken one raw spring morning near the Bridge of the Nine Dragons. An old stone railing on the approach had collapsed, likely from the high water of a recent flood. Among the debris was a heavy wooden chest, split open by the impact. The owner of the chest was Wei, a bridge builder known throughout the province for his structural honesty and steady hand. He was a man of stone and mortar, practical and solid, yet with an unexpected grace when he balanced on a scaffold. Wei was retrieving his salvaged possessions when Lian approached. He was carefully pulling a massive rolled silk tapestry from the muck. It was an astonishing piece, a depiction of the city in high spring, but a jagged piece of stone had torn a long, devastating gash right across the middle. "The bridge is broken," Lian noted simply, gesturing to the collapsed railing. "The stone will be replaced," Wei replied, his voice gruff with frustration as he looked at the tapestry. "But this is worse. It belonged to my grandmother. The pattern is too complex to simply stitch." Lian studied the damage. It was a challenge that appealed to her, a flaw in a masterpiece. "I can mend it," she stated, "but it will take time. The thread must match the exact dye lot, the tension must be perfect, and the mend must be invisible on both sides." We looked up at her, sensing the immense focus behind her quiet voice. "And what is your price, embroiderer?" She gestured toward the damaged bridge. "You fix the railing. I see flaws, Mr. Wei. It is not just the stone that broke, but the very foundation. I want the entire approach rebuilt, and when the final stone is set, I will tie the final knot." It was an unconventional bargain. He was the one with the material loss, but she demanded the structural repair. He smiled slowly, a crack forming in his solemn facade. "Done," he said, holding out his dirt-stained hand. "I will rebuild the bridge. You mend the gap in my heirloom. Let our crafts prove their worth." The parallel crafts. The next few weeks became a study in parallel dedication. Wei established his workplace on the banks of the canal. He used old-world tools, rejecting modern concrete for a traditional lime and sand mortar, meticulously selecting each granite block. His work was loud, physically demanding, and deliberate. Each day, Lian would pass, watching him, her ears tuning out the clang of his hammer, focusing instead on the solid, rhythmic thud of the stones settling into place. She realized the bridge was more than just a crossing. It was his commitment to permanence, to strength. Lian, meanwhile, worked in silence. The torn tapestry was stretched taut on her frame. The damage was significant, running through a cluster of painted cherry blossoms. She had to weave new silk threads through the existing fibers, mimicking the original painter's brush strokes while ensuring no knot or join showed on either the front or the back. Wei began making silent visits to her studio in the evenings. He would stand in the doorway, the scent of dust and river water clinging to him, watching her work. "How do you hide the knot?" he finally asked one night. Lian did not stop. "There is no knot, Wei. The strength is in the tension. I weave the new thread until it is a part of the old, until the pattern accepts the intrusion. The thread becomes the original." "I see," he murmured. "My work is the opposite. I need mortar and gravity. My strength is in the pressure." Through these quiet exchanges, they understood each other. Lian saw that Wei wasn't just fixing a structure. He was anchoring himself to the earth. We saw that Lian wasn't just mending silk. She was seamlessly stitching two separate realities together. They were both builders, fixing what was broken and making the new structure stronger for the trauma it had endured. The seamless whole. Finally, the day of completion arrived simultaneously for both projects. We spent the morning placing the last curved stone railing, the joint so tight and clean it looked like the rock had grown there. He stood back, wiping sweat from his brow, admiring the perfect arch of the bridge, whole and strong again. Leon arrived at the canal bank, carrying the rolled tapestry. She was dressed in her finest blue tunic, her hands clean of dye. She unrolled the silk masterpiece on a low stone table near the newly finished bridge. Wei leaned over, searching for the scar. He ran a careful hand over the cherry blossoms. He lifted the tapestry and looked at the reverse. The mend was invisible. The thread had become the flower. The gap was gone. It was perfection. Leon. He breathed, looking up from the silk. It is seamless. I cannot tell where the damage was, just as I cannot see where the old stone ends and your new mortar begins, she replied, indicating the bridge. You did not just fix the railing. You secured the future of this crossing. In that moment, the true realization hit both of them. The tapestry hadn't been an heirloom. It had been a symbol of Wei's broken spirit after years of solitary work and loss. The broken bridge had been a mirror to Leon's isolated life, perfectly structured but lacking a sturdy connection to the world. They had healed not the objects, but the flaws within themselves. Wei took her hand, his rough palm a contrast to her silk-soft skin. He led her to the center of the new bridge. He told her, his voice deep and resonant, "You mended more than the silk, Leon. You mended the gap in my life. You showed me that even when something is irreparably torn, it can be rebuilt with more strength and more beauty than before." The vow of the thread. They were married 1 week later, not in a temple, but on the newly finished bridge at the intersection of Leon's home and Wei's work. The entire village gathered, lining the canal in their sampans. As part of their ceremony, Leon brought out a length of brilliant red silk thread, the universal Chinese symbol of destiny and connection. Wei hammered a tiny, beautiful brass hook into the smooth granite of the new railing. Leon then meticulously tied the thread to the hook, symbolically binding their lives to the permanent structure they had created together. The thread fluttered in the breeze, a thin, bright line of promise against the gray permanence of the stone. The bridge became known throughout Suzhou not by its old name, but as the Bridge of Red Thread, a permanent monument to the truth that the most enduring things in life, be they love or silk or stone, are those that are meticulously repaired.